Ina alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Today we're going to continue our discussion of how we handle ourselves as Muslims within our communities. We're supposed to coexist based on love for each other, wanting for our brothers and sisters in faith what we want for ourselves. And we're also supposed to remind each other as to what Allah expects from us. But from time to time, guys, we're going to come upon some Muslims in our communities that have some extreme ideologies, some extreme ways of thinking, some extreme ways of challenging the leaders, the people of authority, and others. Well, guess what? Islam teaches us how to handle that. And that's what we're going to be speaking about today. So I put on the internet for everybody to begin with page 326 and read from 326 to 327. You can take your books out now because I'm getting ready to put my PowerPoint up and you can follow along. Let me switch my, yeah. Okay, what you call that thing? Yeah, screen share. Okay, I'm going to switch my screen share to the PowerPoint. And by the way, let me take everything down. What I want you guys to do is screenshot. So that way, let me take everything down. What I have my students doing, and since you guys are all here, I consider you students too. What I want you to do, take this down too. Only thing I'm gonna keep up is the ticker, and I'm gonna take that down too. Hold on. I can take that down right here. It says hide, and I'm gonna make it big screen. Hold on, full screen. What I want you guys to do is take a screenshot. When I start lecturing, I'm gonna make this all one page. You won't see all this stuff on the side. When I put the PowerPoint up, I want y'all to screenshot it with your cell phone or your iPad or whatever you're using. So after the class, you can print it out, print the pages, everything that I taught out, and staple it together. And you have a little booklet that you can review with my notes and stuff, because you got the book that Sheikh Kareem Abu-Zaid wrote. And now my PowerPoints are the highlights. So my PowerPoint will serve as the highlight for the book, and you can attach it to each chapter. So when you go to review the book later, like maybe next year you want to go over to the book with your children, you will have my PowerPoint attached to each, you can, what you call it, clip it to each chapter so you know what to highlight when teaching it to your kids or whatnot. Because this is not a book that you can learn on your own, as you all know. So, and for the people on Zoom, what I'm going to do so you all can see, I'm going to share my screen for you to Instagram so I don't get confused. Okay? So let me make it all one screen. You guys see this? So for everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch and LinkedIn, y'all can take a screenshot. This is the first page. And this is what we're going to be speaking about. Excommunication. Excommunication of another Muslim or group. Because as I was saying, sometimes within our communities, we may come upon a Muslim or a Muslim group, that keeps a lot of fitna going on. So how does Islam teach us to handle this? This is what Sheikh Kareem Abu-Zaid speaks about in this section, and I really love how he words it here, but I worded it a little better with some of it. So I want you guys to understand our example in how to handle ourselves in all situations. It's the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's nothing that we are encountering within our communities or our lives that the Prophet himself did not encounter. And during his time, the Muslims community witnessed the emergence of a group that still exists today, the Kharijites, also known as Khawarij. I call them Kharijites. You know me, Sodomites, polygamites, Kharijites. Okay. This group emerged during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they displayed extremist tendencies in their interpretation of the concepts of allegiance and disassociation. And we hear them, they still exist today. A lot of these famous brothers that y'all listen to, on YouTube, they belong to this group. You can hear it. And one way that these people manifest their extremism when it comes to allegiance and disassociation is through the practice of excommunication. You hear them throwing this Arabic word called takfir. 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 What does this mean? They're calling everybody apostates, a kafir. What's their takfir today? Anybody who goes to Starbucks is a kafir. How many of you heard that? Brother Ahmad told me it's really being thrown around in his country. He's in Pakistan. They're making takfir. Anybody that goes to Starbucks or drinks a Starbucks, you are an apostate. Okay? They make takfir on each other all the time. You do something that they don't like, you're a kafir. They base it all solely on a person's outward actions because they think that Starbucks is owned by Israel, which it's not. And even if it was, so what? Okay? But because they think or believe that anything that's owned by a person that you're fighting against, you are supposed to boycott it and stay away from it. And if you don't, you're a kafir. They base it on your actions. Even though there's no verses from the Quran or Hadith to support it, this is what these brothers do. And by the way, this goes against the principles of the people of the Sunnah, who emphasize the importance of not just looking at a person's actions, like I teach you guys all the time. Just because a person doesn't pray, you can't call them a kafir. Okay? You have to look at their intentions, their knowledge, and all of that. A lot of people don't pray because they don't know that praying is an obligation. A lot of people don't pray because they don't know the importance of it. A lot of people don't pray because they're just lazy. Okay? But can we call them a kafir? We have the story from the hadith of a man named Hatib ibn Abu Balta. He was an early companion who migrated from Mecca with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He also participated in the Battle of Badr. He's a great example of this. Take a screenshot. I want all of you to take a screenshot of this page, because now I'm getting ready to flip it to the next ones, because I want y'all to print this stuff out, especially you young brothers, because y'all listen to too many of these brothers on YouTube making takfir, calling everybody a kafir. Okay. What happened with this companion was during the conquest of Mecca, this companion wrote a letter to the people of Mecca telling them that the prophet was about to attack them. Remember, we're going to get to that in the class that my cousin Mukhtar is teaching eventually. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right before he went to take back Mecca, this companion was the one that gave the information away to the Quraysh. He sent the letter to a woman from the Quraysh, hoping to be indebted to them. He was hoping that they would be so impressed that he informed them of this, that they would grant his family safety. Because remember, the Muslims were being persecuted. The Muslims were being persecuted in Mecca for being Muslim. And there was nothing that Hatib could do. So he said, I don't want them to kill my family. So maybe if I let them know what the prophet is planning to attack them, that they'll let my family go. But the word got back to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when the Prophet heard what Hatib had done, he sent Ali, Azubair, and El-Miqdad to go and retrieve the letter. And they did. And when Hatib was brought before the Prophet and questioned as to what he did, of course, a lot of the Muslims wanted him to be killed. They said, kill him. He betrayed us. He's a kafir. He betrayed us. That's what the Kharijites, because the Kharijites were present then. They were demanding that he be killed because he's a kafir. Well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't do that. Instead, he said, let me hear what he got to say. So Hatib explained to the Prophet, he said, I didn't betray you. He said, I believe la ilaha illallah. He said, and O Prophet of Allah, I love you. He said, but my family don't have no protectors. They're threatening to kill my family. So I had to think of something to save my family because they have no one in Mecca to protect them. So the only thing I could think to do was to let them know that you were planning an attack so that maybe they wouldn't kill my family. And when Hatib explained this to the Prophet, he accepted it. He accepted his explanation. He forgave him. And he told the people, this man, he had to do what he had to do to protect his family. There's always cause and effect. We got to remember this man fought with us. He fought with us during the battle of Badr. He said, I know this man loves me. I know this man loves Allah. But look, what would you do? Your family is about to be murdered. Okay? So here we can see, guys, the way of the companions. The correct approach is we don't go around calling people kafir without sitting down talking to them. We don't sit there and say that sister's a kafir because she don't pray. No, we got to sit down and talk with her. Maybe nobody taught her the virtues of praying. Maybe she doesn't know what a serious sin it is to not pray. Okay? Intentions are everything. Just like this man didn't do it to be facetious or because he hated the Allah or the Prophet. He was looking out for his family. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us the importance of verifying a person's knowledge and intention before excommunicating them. Y'all understand that? And this is something that the Kharijites don't do. They don't verify anything. They just, you're an apostate, kill you, and that's the end of it. These are terrorists. Kharijites are terrorists, man. Okay? So we don't base it on the actions alone. We have to look at the person's inward beliefs and all of that too. Cause and effect. That's why I tell you guys as my students, never use the word kafir and never use the word haram. Two words that you should never use unless you got clear proof. It's kafir and haram. If you say something is haram and it's not, you're lying on a law. Okay? If you call a person a kafir and they're not, it's going to come back on you or your children or your grandkids. We have to look at the big picture, the whole picture, not just the small part. So as Muslims, before we excommunicate, and what's the difference? There's a difference between excommunicating a person and boycotting a person. Let me talk about that for a minute. The Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would boycott a person if the person was doing a sin that he shouldn't be doing. For example, you keep getting drunk over and over again, so we're going to boycott you until you stop drinking. Or he would boycott his family members. If there was a kid in the family that would tell lies, he would tell everybody, don't talk to him, don't talk to her until they admit what they've done. That's boycotting. Excommunicating is not the same. Excommunicate means to cut a person off completely. And we only cut a person off completely if that person is an apostate. Y'all understand? The only time we cut another Muslim off completely is if that person apostates, denounces Islam, denounces la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. Do you guys understand? Okay. So we have to understand that there are consequences for those people who don't follow the procedure that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in effect about excommunication. Because remember, he said the believer never cuts himself off of another believer. We don't hold grudges. We cannot forsake each other. Allah does not even allow into paradise anyone who held a grudge against his brother in Islam. So there's a lot of consequences for ignoring the procedures that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam put in effect about excommunication. Does everybody understand that? That's why I keep telling y'all better be careful. Y'all on the internet listening to these famous brothers, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot of these men are in the United Kingdom. This is the problem I have with the dawah in the UK. Islam may be strong in the UK, but also the Kharijites and extremists are strong there too. They'll make takfir and call you a kafir in a heartbeat. So y'all be careful listening to those young brothers who are very popular and got their own TV shows. A lot of them are telling you what you want to hear to keep their ratings up and their subscriptions up to make their money, because these brothers ain't working no jobs. They get paid for their YouTube celebrityship. Y'all be careful. Anytime you listen to a person that's calling somebody a kafir, another Muslim a kafir, that should tell you to leave that person alone. Okay? So, in Islam, one of the manifestations of extremism is the invalid excommunication of a specific person or group without adhering to the procedures that our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam put in effect. Okay? And the formality of excommunicating a specific person or group, it involves, first of all, establishing proof against them. You got to have proof that this person actually exhibited the behavior of the kafir. And that proof is established through two main conditions. Number one, affirmation of the completion of the conditions, which includes the acquisition of correct knowledge and the corroboration of the intention. This is the only problem I have with Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. And if you listen to Sheikh, this is the only problem I have with his books. He needs to take his words down simpler, because a lot of people will read that and don't understand. They don't know what affirmation means. That's too big of a word. They don't understand what acquisition means. That's too big of a word. They don't understand what corroboration. Affirmation means to prove that the person had the correct knowledge, that the person had he intentionally said it, or he intentionally did it. That's clear English. Okay? A lot of people, like I said, maybe that brother doesn't pray because he doesn't know the virtues of praying. He doesn't know how important, like my cousin Mukhtar was talking about the other day. A lot of Muslims don't know how important the Asr prayer is. There's a lot of Muslims out there who miss the middle prayer. The Prophet said, guard the middle prayer. The middle prayer is Asr, the Asr prayer, because it comes in the middle of the day. So maybe that person hasn't had a teacher. Most Muslims don't have a teacher. Y'all know that. They haven't had a person to break it down in plain, simple English to explain to them that if I don't make my Asr prayer, it's like I haven't prayed at all, because Allah loves for us to remember him. So before you cast a person out and excommunicate them, you have to first of all secure the proof that this person knew what he was doing, that this person deliberately, intentionally did it knowing it was wrong, knowing it was haram. Because we're human, we make mistakes, we make bad choices. So that's the first condition. The second condition is the absence of any hindrances which cancel out the conditions of knowledge, such as I misinterpreted. How many people read the Quran and misinterpret the meaning? How many of you read a hadith? What's that famous hadith that a lot of American Muslims don't understand? Get married. If you marry, that's half the deen. A lot of Muslims interpret that to mean once I get married, Allah will send down from the sky half the knowledge of Islam. That is not what that hadith means. When the Prophet said marriage is half the deen, he's talking about it protects your private part. He said there are two main reasons why most Muslims will be in hell. Number one, sex. Number two, backbiting and gossip. If you get married, that's half of the problem. So you can now focus on your tongue. That's the true meaning. But the same way people misconstrue that meaning, they misconstrue so many other hadiths and verses of the Quran. So again, we have to make sure the person understood what he was doing, what he was saying, that it wasn't a misinterpretation or something that he just didn't know. So we don't sit there and make takfir on people. You can't sit here and say lailanasheeba is a kafir because she wears makeup. Maybe lailanasheeba knows something that you don't know. Maybe lailanasheeba knows a lot of stuff that you don't know. Okay? And if I am misguided, prove it. Prove me to be misguided, but I can tell you, you can't. Not on that issue. All right? Does everybody understand this? And make sure y'all screenshot this page. The importance of knowledge and intention can be seen in another example too. What's one of the major sins, guys? To burn yourself. Cremation. It is haram. I repeat, it is haram. I repeat, it is haram to be cremated. But we have the story that Allah speaks about in the Quran of the man who had his children burn his body after he died. Allah didn't just throw that man in hell. Allah forgave him. He forgave him because the man was ignorant. The man just didn't know. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us a man committed so many sins. When death came to him, he gathered his sons and he told his sons, when I die, burn me and scatter my ashes in the sea, because I've done so many sins that Allah will punish me. So when he died, his sons did what he asked, but Allah gathered his soul, and Allah asked him, what made you do that? And the man said, because I feared standing before you, Allah. I feared you and I love you and I don't want you to punish me. So Allah forgave him. So this is the dalil. We don't just make takfir. We don't sit there and call Muslims kafir. We don't call Muslims kafir. We don't call them hypocrites. Hypocrite, and by the way, a hypocrite is a kafir. Never use the word hypocrite either. Never call a Muslim a hypocrite because you're calling him a kafir. And never call a person a kafir because you're cursing him. And if he ain't the kafir, you cursing yourself and your family. Okay? So this verse, which is also a story from the Quran, shows that intentions have to be considered, not the person's knowledge and all of that, before you make this type of ruling on him or her. Everybody understand that? So now let's put your understanding to the test. I got a quiz for you. Here we go. Wake up and smell the coffee and pay attention. First question. Who can tell us what is the difference between excommunicating a person and boycotting a person? What is the difference? What is the difference between excommunicating a person and boycotting a person? What's the difference? What's the difference, Muslims? Come on. Come on, people. Let's get on that mic. Don't make me mad today.
Boycotting is when a person is committing a sin until they stop doing the sin, is what we boycott them, to stop speaking to them until they start. And to excommunicate is to be completely a person that has apostated from the religion.
So what are you doing to them when you excommunicate them?
So we don't have nothing to do with them at all.
Yeah, excellent. She finally answered correct. See, Mina's been thinking about her words. Good. Don't be like your mother. Just say what you... Fresno, just say what she want to say. Hello, that's Fresno's daughter. That was beautiful.
That's my daughter.
That's right. That was beautiful. She did it just as good as Israel. Hello. Exactly. We boycott for sin. We excommunicate or cut off if the person leaves Islam. Good job. What about this? Before excommunicating a person, what must we do? What must we do as a community? Say, for example, your community heard some or discovered some things about a person. Rather than excommunicate them, what must we do before doing that? What must the community do before excommunicating a person or kicking a person out of the community?
They need to find out if they knew what they were doing, if they was educated and did it on purpose or not.
Exactly. And the facts was it true? First, make sure the accusations are true. Remember what happened? We're going to talk about that tonight with the story of Ruman. Ruman, she was the mother of Aisha. When the community accused Aisha of adultery, that's grounds for excommunication. Okay. But did they just excommunicate her? No. You had to investigate first. Investigate to see if it's true. And then you sit down with the person. The person, Aisha had to come before her husband, the prophet. And he had her parents there too. We're going to talk about that today at 9 o'clock. And he asked her, did you do this? And if you did, repent to Allah. Okay? And he had to explain to her. So before we just excommunicate a person, we have to sit down with that person. First, investigate to see if what they say is true. Then sit down. Let's give another example. You want to excommunicate lailanasheeba because she wear makeup. First of all, is it a sin to wear makeup? You got to be able to prove that Layla's doing something that's wrong. Is it haram for her to wear makeup? You can't even get past that. So since you can't get past that, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. But if you could get past that, then you'd sit down with Layla and you'd say, Layla, Allah just sent down a verse, or we finally found a verse that says, thou shalt not wear makeup. Any woman that wears makeup is a kafir. It's got to be clear. Clear. It can't be a verse that says Jack and Jill went up the hill, black crows flew in the sky, and then the earth fell. That means a woman can't wear makeup. It can't be that. It has to be women cannot wear makeup. Any woman that wears makeup is cursed by Allah. And then if I reject it, you can excommunicate me. Well, we're going to kick her on up out of here. She don't want to accept the truth. We're going to kick her on up out of here. So you have to follow the procedures, guys. You have to look at the person's, not just the person's actions of what they're doing that's wrong, but why? Do they know it's wrong? Or are they wrong? Because most of us can't get past the step number one. Is the person doing something wrong? Okay, good job. What about this? Abdul does not raise his hands before bowing when he prays, nor does he know much about the religion. Is he worthy of excommunication? Can we just excommunicate him? Why or why not? What do y'all think? Abdul does not raise his hands before bowing when he prays, nor does he know much about the deen. Is he worthy of excommunication? Is this reason to just throw him out, excommunicate him?
No, you have to teach him.
Exactly.
He doesn't know.
Exactly, guys. We teach the people. We don't just sit there and call people kafirs and throw them out into the streets like these young brothers. Many of these young brothers are advocating this stuff on their YouTube channels. I listen to some of them young brothers and I'm like, boy, they need their behinds whooped. And they got a lot of followers who are agreeing with that crap. We have to educate the person, teach him the deen. Maybe he didn't know that the prophet raised his hands. Maybe he didn't know that seeking knowledge of the deen is an obligation. Teach him. And this brings us to the last question. Now, this one might be hard. Who can give us some reasons to excommunicate a person? What are some reasons, if proven guilty, that we can excommunicate a person? What are some things or actions that a person may do, and if they're proven guilty of it and they continue to indulge in it, brings about excommunication? This is a thicker question. Take everything you learn and come up with something that a reason that I can excommunicate you if you're guilty of it. Anybody?
You know that fornication, not adultery, is haram, but you do it anyway. You say you don't care, so you just go ahead and do it because you don't care.
Wow, what y'all think about her answer?
Intentional, huh?
That's good. What y'all think about her answer? MashaAllah. Good job. That's an example. A person is fornicating in the community. This brother's a fornicator, or he's an adulterator. He knows it's haram. You done sit down with him and talk to him about it, but he continues to do it. This is grounds for excommunication. We can just kick his butt on up out of here. Okay? We're going to let him go. You've been told. You know this is wrong. What's another example of an action that if a person indulges in, we can excommunicate? Now remember, I'm using the word excommunicate. I'm not using the word apostate. If the brother fornicates, can we call him an apostate?
No.
Right. And that's the other thing. The Kharijites, let me stress that. The Kharijites, they believe that if you commit a major sin, you are a kafir. That shows how extreme they are. So because this brother is fornicating, he's a kafir, and we can excommunicate him too. Okay, that's another thing about them. Them people are crazy. Who are they? That's your ISIS group. ISIS are the extreme Kharijite group. Okay, what's another example of an action that if I'm told that I know I ain't supposed to do, but I'm still doing it, that I can excommunicate you? What's another one?
Homosexuality.
Oh my, that's a good one. Homosexuality. Homosexuality, that's another one. What's another one? Anyone else? Oh, that's a good one. What's your name here? This is somebody from Trovo. Numbers. I don't have a name, just numbers. She said magic. Exactly. And I can tell she's Arabia because that's a big problem. Magic. Magic is a sin of disbelief. You know it's haram. You've been told it's a sin of disbelief. Not only can you be excommunicated, but can I refer to that person as a kafir too? Not me, but can the judge refer to that person as a kafir too in that case? What y'all think?
Yep.
Yes, that's a kafir, because that's a sin of disbelief. Okay, adultery, fornication are not sins of disbelief unless you take it over your love for Allah. But magic, clear cut, that's a sin of disbelief. What's another one? Another reason that the community can excommunicate you. What about yeah, go ahead.
Those who try to introduce something that doesn't belong in this religion.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
Innovation.
Definitely. We kicking you up out of here. You ain't coming in here, this community, with that innovation. Can we call them kafir?
No, they might be uneducated.
Right. That's not a sin of disbelief like that. Yes, it's not a sin of disbelief. Good job. Malfeasance. Good job. What about stealing? This person in your community has been stealing your funds, your money. Is that grounds for excommunication?
Yes.
Yes. Can you call him a kafir?
No.
No, that's not a sin of disbelief either. Exactly. So I think you guys get it. So excommunication, this is something that we Muslims can do within our communities, but we have to follow the procedure that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam put in effect for us in doing it. Y'all understand that? You can't just randomly kick people out and excommunicate them. It has to follow that procedure there. All right, inshallah, let's see what I had here on